Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. I see people are still trickling in. We have 38 people and still continuing. So, for those of us who have joined us for the call today, we're going to start this webinar in terms of unpacking pharmacovigilance requirements in Rwanda. And we're honored to have our guest speaker already here with us in the room. So, as we get started, Juliet has shared a link in the chat box. So where mostly we're going to give mostly our experiences, what are we looking forward. And there are three main questions, by the way: where you are logging in from, where you're joining us from, how you're feeling today, and what your expectations of this session are, so that we're able to deliver based on what your expectations are. So please fill that form and let's have a conversation as we move. For those of us who have already joined, one thing that we love about African Pharmaceutical Network for the work that we pride ourselves in being a network that convinces people, facilitates connections with each other, and therefore then through this opportunity, you can share your LinkedIn profile in the chat as you introduce yourself. There might be somebody looking at partnering with you wherever they are. And this is your opportunity to meet that person, whether they're looking for somebody to guide them on regulatory processes, somebody to work with, somebody to collaborate with in business, whatever that is. Take advantage of this opportunity that we have today. Introduce yourself in the chat, name, where you're coming from, LinkedIn profile link, at least so that you can have the conversation as a follow-on. If you're open to sharing your email address, feel free to do that and let's have the conversation as we move. So that is on the chat. For the survey, it's mostly for us to know who is joining us, where are you joining us from, what is your expectation today, but also how are you feeling? We are getting to the end of the week. Half one is gone. We're getting into half two. Are we meeting things where they need to be? What are the challenges? Probably tell us. And I'm hoping we are in a good mood and ready to go into the next phase of the conversations. So let's get to hear from you. So Julia, just share the screen. Continue. For those of us who can share in the chat, also do that. I'm giving just the format on how to introduce ourselves. Name, organization you work with, the role you play in that organization, and LinkedIn profile link. That is in the chat. Thank you, Said Shariza, for joining us from Sandals. Amazing actually to see you here with us, Shariza. I used to work for Novartis a couple of years back, so I'm reconnecting with a former colleague. Great. I'm seeing people are picking up pace in the group. 25 responses. Which country is winning, Juliet, in terms of representation? Oh, okay, Kenya. But I'm glad we are seeing Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique, Tanzania. Great. So I think, Juliet, we can pause the survey so that I can get started. I also don't want to keep people longer for the session today. So thank you everyone for joining us for this webinar today. It's a pleasure to host you. It's a pleasure to be engaging. And most importantly, we are honored to have Lazar, who is actually offered to take us through the pharmacovigilance requirements in Rwanda. And this was necessitated by the fact that early last month, there was a notice and a notification to the industry that came from Rwanda FDA. And this was mostly to apprise stakeholders that there is a requirement to comply with the pharmacovigilance requirements and guidelines, which as stakeholders and as players in the industry, we are expected to comply with. And therefore, by the virtue that there has been, I would say, modest level of compliance, there's need for improvement on that. But at the same time, where we're coming in is saying, how do we enable the industry to comply? How do we encourage that compliance? And the first way to enable compliance is to help people understand what the requirements are so that you know what is expected of you. And then ultimately, then it is now upon you to ensure that you're meeting those obligations, complying with what the regulator expects of you. And therefore, we are safeguarding public health, but also protecting our patients and demonstrating our commitment to guarantee reliability in safe, effective, and quality health products and technologies for the patients that we serve within the region. In this content, we're looking at it from the Rwanda market, and Rwanda being part of the East Africa community, products in Rwanda will probably get to somebody within the region. How do we guarantee that safety is upheld across the value chain? So that is important for us. So just to give you an overview of how the session will go, I'll start with giving you, for those of us who are joining us the first time, getting to know about African Pharmaceutical Network for the first time, an overview of what the organization does and who we are as an organization. After that, I'll transition you into the presentation by Dr. Lazan Tirenganya, who is the head division manager for pharmacovigilance and clinical trials in Rwanda. Then after that, we'll have a Q&A session. You'll realize your microphones and your videos are blocked for now. They're disabled, but we will be able to enable them for you as we get into the Q&A session. But in the interim, please feel free to use the Q&A tab on the top of your screen so that you're able to take note of the question that you're having to enable us get to the discussions when we get to that point. After the Q&A, there will be another form just getting to know what are the key things that you've covered from this, but also what would you expect us to cover subsequently after these engagements. So take note, there will be my presentation, Lazar's presentation, Q&A session, then feedback where we get to know how have we done for this, what improvements can we make, but most importantly, what kind of sessions do you want for us to facilitate for you to enable you do your work better, but also deliver products to the people who need it from us. With that said, I'll bring up my screen. Juliet, let me know when you can see it.
Yes, it is up.
Thank you so much. Good. So African Pharmaceutical Network, just introducing ourselves. This is an organization that was established in 2020. That was on the backdrop of COVID-19. And the essence of us establishing the organization was to provide a convening platform. And we work as a convener, but also as an advisory firm, supporting different stakeholders in the ecosystem by one, promoting knowledge sharing like today, facilitating these conversations, shaping policies by asking ourselves, what are the key impediments in access? What are the policy instruments and what do they say? And how can we ensure that the practice is speaking to what the policy aspiration is and delivering value to the people? And the last piece is fostering partnerships and enabling people to network and connect with each other. And I've already challenged you, take advantage of this platform to introduce yourself in the chat, to share your contact details or share your LinkedIn profile. You'll meet somebody who has something that they can offer, maybe not today, but it brings a bell. You can able to build those relationships forward. And through our work, as we established our work, We've continued to deliver programs, mostly in terms of workforce development programs, business advisory support. We're also working with government agencies to inform strategies, but also to support their regulatory and market-enabling, market-shaping functions across the continent. Why was this important for us? We understand in the continent of Africa, we still have limited local manufacturing capability. And the only way that gap can be closed is when people see where the opportunities are, but also what the needs are in the ecosystem. And that can only happen when different stakeholders are coming together, talking to each other and understanding where the opportunities do lie for all of us. We have a segregated and disjointed pharmaceutical ecosystem where each of us in our different silos have been operating in our own account, and that becomes a missed opportunity. And therefore, we established that platform to facilitate, to catalyze those conversations, to drive engagement so that we're therefore able to say, these are the challenges we are contending with. These are the solutions that each of us are offering in different domains. How do we create synergies and enable that access to be a reality in our ecosystem to guarantee that patients and the general public access the product they need? Our mission is reliable access to safe, effective, and quality health products, and we do that through our investment in workforce development, business ecosystem support, and policy shaping interventions. And if we're able to ensure that everybody in the continent has products they need, that is a win for us. We are guided by a set of values, 5 of them, and at the core of it is humanity. Before everything else, we're human beings, and the human dignity, the human value must come supreme in everything that we do. That is supported by a commitment to integrity, professionalism in how we do our work and how we present our work to the public, and how we offer solutions to the people who engage with us and get services from us. Creating value to clients, and that is where we started with. What are your expectations? To the end of the session, will we have met your expectations? If not, how do we improve? And we have to hold each other accountable, work in that ecosystem. And we work as a team. The network works because of the people running it, but the people participating in its events, and the stakeholders who come on board, like today, Dr. Lazar coming in and sharing his perspective. It is that team that will guarantee we deliver products to the public and to the people who depend on us to deliver products to them. In terms of the work that we do, I already said, we have pharmaceutical workforce development, the regulatory support services, mostly pharmacovigilance, regulatory product registration across 29 African markets, business ecosystem support, including market research work, intelligence, talent sourcing, talent management, where necessary. And the last piece is working with governments and regulators to shape policies and to enable responsiveness in the markets on where solutions need to be delivered. These are some of the courses we offer: regulatory affairs, pharmaceutical supply chain management, pharmacovigilance, and patient safety. And we have 2 other courses that are coming in, that is medical affairs and product management. And we have our intake running for the next cohort starting in August. So for whoever is interested, Juliet will help me or Wendy will help me share some of the links for those of you who would want to join and to be able to engage with us. With that said, I'll take a pause here and take us to the main conversation and the main agenda that we have for today. And the best way to do that is to start by introducing our speaker for the day, Ms. Ntirenganya Lazar, who is the Division Manager for Pharmacovigilance and Clinical Trials in Rwanda FDA. He is a pharmacist with more than 12 years of working experience, with a master's degree in public health methodology from University Libre de Bruxelles in Belgium. He's a PhD student at Karolinska Institute in Sweden with a research focus on pharmacology and therapeutics. He's among the pioneers of Rwanda FDA and contributed extensively in establishing and strengthening the medicines regulatory systems in Rwanda, mainly clinical trials oversight, pharmacovigilance systems, and post-marketing surveillance. He contributed in the process of WHO GBT assessment and attainment of WHO GBT ML3 in Rwanda FDA. He's been involved in the development of hospital accreditation standards in Rwanda and who has different trainings, especially in review of clinical trials, good clinical practice, translation of medicine, pharmacometrics, assessment and registration of medical products, pharmacovigilance, and post-marketing surveillance. He was involved in different research projects and publications, especially in treatment and control of neglected tropical diseases, medicines and vaccine safety surveillance, and regulatory systems. With that said, I'll invite you, Lazar, just to say your greetings as I bring your slides up as you get started on the session. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, David. for a very good opportunity just for us as Rwanda FDA. And we are very thankful to African Pharmaceutical Network for the invitation just to share with colleagues about pharmacovigilance regulation and requirements. And it will be a very good opportunity, of course, to hear from colleagues, maybe just the more clarification they need from us, but also more guidance as far as our country is just investing efforts in attracting pharmaceutical companies because the country has a vision to become a pharmaceutical manufacturing hub. And of course, at regulatory side, we are just doing our best to strengthen the system. And that cannot happen without collaborating with stakeholders. Those are just manufacturers, those are market authorization holders, those are healthcare professionals and others. So good to have this session and I hope that we will just have good and fruitful exchanges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lula. So with that said, I'm bringing your screens up. Let me know when you can see it.
Yes, yes. Okay, so thank you. Once again, good afternoon, colleagues, wherever you are, maybe in Kenya, maybe in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and in other countries. My presentation is intertitles, as you can see, pharmacovigilance regulation, but also we have to discuss some requirements, especially those enclosed in our regulatory documentation, regulations, and guidelines here in Rwanda. And it's opportunity to have this session, of course, as I was saying, and we have different topics to be discussed during this session. Next. So I have just structured the presentation as follows. I will just share with you a kind of overview of the pharmacovigilance regulatory framework here in Rwanda, but also it's an opportunity to share with you on the system structure and the structures of pharmacovigilance that we have, the processes, and so on. But of course, as this session, we'll have more time to discuss roles and responsibilities for market authorization holders, matters pertaining to pharmacovigilance. And here I have just made a kind of summary of our regulations, the key articles on responsibilities, but also key sections of our safety and vigilance guideline that provide details on the roles and responsibilities of market authorization holders. I will have again to talk about qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance, as David was saying. Last month, I think we have issued just a kind of reminder to all market authorization holders to make sure they nominate the qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance. So during this session, it will be an opportunity again to discuss the notification and the reminder that was shared, the qualification as per our safety and vigilance guidelines, but also roles and responsibilities of those qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance. I will have a last session during my presentation, which will just share with you some initiative on harmonization practices, especially related to pharmacovigilance, but also it's an opportunity to show you some maybe continental project on pharmacovigilance. I mean, just those where Rwanda FDA is just contributing, but also some partnership. And of course, after my presentation, we'll have a Q&A session just to make sure everything is clear. Next. So I cannot present without giving you a kind of background of Rwanda FDA. Rwanda Food and Drugs Authority is a national medicine regulatory agency that was just established in 2018. And it's a public institution that has organ supreme, which is the board of directors. And our supervising ministry is the Ministry of Health. The agency has a mission, and the mission is just to ensure the quality, safety, and the quality of regulated products. And when we say regulated products, Rwanda FDA has a wide scope of products that is just in the scope of product regulated by the agency according to the role that established the agency. Mainly, we have human medicine, we have medical devices, we have, for example, biological products, and so on. And the vision of our agency is to become a world-class regulatory authority, effectively protecting and promoting public health. And maybe, as you may know, in 2024, in December, the agency has reached the maturity level 3 as per WHO global benchmarking tool. Next. So as we are talking about Rwanda FDA, of course, as a public institution and now operating at maturity level 3, of course, we have a clear organizational structure. And as you can see, we have 3 technical departments. The food department, as the name even is the Rwanda Food and the Drugs Authority. We have a drugs department, which includes different divisions from registration, from inspection and licensing. And this one highlighted in red is the Pharmacovigilance and the Clinical Trial Division. And the one, of course, I'm the division manager in charge of this division. And we have 3 units in this division, the Pharmacovigilance unit, Clinical Trial unit, and also post-marketing surveillance. And of course, in this drugs department, we have other divisions like import and export control and other divisions. Of course, we have also a laboratory services department, and we have a support department, which is the Chief Finance Office. Next. So now coming to the mandates, of course, in line with pharmacovigilance mandates, and if I can just give you a little bit regulatory framework. Here, just first of all, Rwanda FDA, according to the mandate that was given by the law number 003/2018, it gives the agency the mandate to conduct pharmacovigilance, of course, among other regulatory functions, and also post-marketing surveillance. Those are provided for in its Article 8, Paragraph 9. And the agency has different powers, and among the power the agency has, there is also establishing and setting regulations, but also guidelines. It is with these regards that Rwanda FDA has published a regulation governing pharmacovigilance for pharmaceutical products, but also health technologies. And as per the hierarchy of documentation at Rwanda FDA, under this regulation of pharmacovigilance, we have 2 main guidelines. The first guideline is about safety and vigilance guidelines. And this one, of course, includes different provision guidance to stakeholders, to market authorization holders, on reporting, and other provision as we'll be seeing as we move ahead. And we have another standalone guideline, which is on adverse event following immunization surveillance. And of course, as per the regulation, the agency, meaning Rwanda FDA, has the power and also mandate to collect, manage, assess, analyze, and identify safety signals, communicate safety information, and other, of course, responsibilities on pharmacovigilance. Next. As Rwanda FDA was established in 2018, of course, we had somewhere to start, while, of course, strengthening pharmacovigilance system. We started aligning ourselves with WHO key requirements just to have a functional pharmacovigilance system. And of course, the first one is to have a pharmacovigilance center, which is in our case a division in charge of pharmacovigilance. The second, we have a clear spontaneous reporting system, and we have a database, and we have established 2 advisory committees. We have one on medicine, which is National Pharmacovigilance Advisory Committee. We have, again, another one just dedicated for adverse event following immunization. And those advisory committees support the agency mainly in matters related to causality assessment, especially for critical cases and those serious cases. And of course, as a part of fulfilling requirements of pharmacovigilance system, we had set and put in place a communication strategy as a part of risk minimization. Next. Of course, as we're just fulfilling those key requirements, as per WHO recommendation to have a functional pharmacovigilance system, we have to reactivate some structures that were in place, including Drugs and Therapeutics Committee, to put in place reporting tools. Nowadays, we have online reporting tools that are used by health professionals, and we have adopted even a VG mobile app from WHO, just both for medicine and vaccine, to report cases to Rwanda FDA. Next. Of course, we have the reporting structure from patients, from healthcare professionals, from hospitals, from market authorization holders, public health programs, and so on. But of course, as Rwanda FDA is a member of WHO International Drug Monitoring Program, we have also to share cases to Apsara Monitoring Center, which is international, of course, collaborating center of pharmacovigilance. And of course, we report to the Minister of Health. Next. So according to Rwanda FDA guidelines, we have different processes in place. And of course, that guides our daily routine activities. Mainly, we have different procedures as we are implementing quality management system. We have different procedures like those one guiding review, processing of cases received from maybe healthcare professionals, market authorization holders. We have a procedure on investigation of serious cases, especially for vaccine, the causal assessment, and we have a standalone procedure on signal detection and investigation, from signal detection, signal validation, prioritization, and assessment. Next. We have, again, different processes, especially for reviewing, receiving, and reviewing the aggregated safety update reports. Those are PCR, periodic benefit risk evaluation reports. We have a process for pharmacovigilance inspection. We started conducting some pharmacovigilance inspection, and we have, again, process for medicine safety communication and reviewing risk management plans. Those are just, in brief, some of the processes that we have in place that guide, of course, our daily activities as regulatory agency, of course, having the pharmacovigilance in our mandate. Next. Now, that was like introduction on pharmacovigilance systems, processes that we have in place. Now coming to market authorization holder roles and responsibilities and obligations according to pharmacovigilance regulation, especially in its Article 5, you see that MAH have the responsibility, first of all, to establish the PV system. Of course, to receive, handling, assessing, and reporting adverse drug events. And of course, according to the regulation governing pharmacovigilance in Rwanda, market authorization holder have also the obligation to ensure that pharmacovigilance system is adequately resourced and continually improved. And those can be verified even from different, maybe pharmacovigilance inspection that I was saying that we started. They have, again, a responsibility and obligation to appoint the qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance. And maybe next slide, we'll be seeing the roles and responsibilities of those qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance as per the safety and vigilance guideline. Again, as per Article 13 of the regulation governing pharmacovigilance here in Rwanda, the MH has the responsibility also to establish the risk management plan, but also submit those aggregated safety update reports as described and required by Article 17 of these regulations. Next. So again, pharmacovigilance regulation in its Article 17 provide for the conduct and reporting of periodic updates, post-authorization safety studies, and maybe post-authorization efficacy studies when required. Those one are required when you have, for example, some safety signals that need to be investigated deeply, and the data have to be generated to complement the signal confirmation. And of course, they are communicated in writing to MH. Again, market authorization holder have to establish a system for signal detection and management, but also have the responsibility to make sure safety information are communicated to relevant stakeholders, and they have to maintain the pharmacovigilance system master file. This is just provided for in Article 19 of the regulation governing pharmacovigilance in Rwanda. Now, talking about qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance, as per our safety and vigilance guideline, especially in section 3, 2, and 6, we have just the requirements for the QPPV and also backup QPPV. And the first requirement, those nominated qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance have to be appropriately qualified by training, by education, but also by experience. And when we say by training, we need to see if the QPPV was trained on pharmacovigilance, because as we will be seeing, the roles and responsibility, they have detailed roles and responsibilities, and they have to be, of course, trained. And when we say qualified, we'll be seeing that at least they have to have and they hold the Bachelor of Pharmacy or Medicine, the minimum, that is the minimum. And one of the requirements is that the QPPV should be residing in one of East African member state countries. And another thing is that for maybe products which are not medicine, like health technologies, the guideline accepts those with Bachelor in Health Sciences. And they should be, of course, recognized and registered by their professional bodies in East Africa. So why have we limited ourselves in East Africa? First of all, it was part of harmonizing our requirements. As I will be showing, this compendium of pharmacovigilance was developed jointly at East African level, but also in Rwanda, we didn't have yet many people trained in this area, and we were open just to make sure we have those qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance based or residing in one of the East African member state countries. Next. Now, as we're discussing roles and responsibilities of the market authorization holders, we have also detailed roles and responsibilities in the safety and vigilance guideline for qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance. First of all, this is a summary. Of course, I invite everyone to read those guidelines. They are published to Rwanda FDA website. Those QPPV acts as a single pharmacovigilance contact point for authority. Especially, we used to contact them for different, maybe, information from the MH, but also they are contact person, of course, for pharmacovigilance matters. If I can give an example, even during our few GVP inspection that we started, we have a session where we interview the QPPV to make sure his or she's just carrying out his responsibilities as per the regulation and guidelines. They have, again, to ensure submission of safety reports to the agency. Example, the local cases, we have a clear timeline for submission of those local cases, and the foreign cases are enclosed in the periodic safety update reports, and there's timeline for submission of those PCR. And again, the QPPV have to ensure on-time submission of maybe significant safety issues, actions that are taken by other NRA. And as I was saying, they have to ensure submission of those aggregated safety update reports according to the timeline described in Chapter 7 of the Safety and Vigilance Guideline. Those are just some of the roles and responsibilities, but they are well detailed in our guideline. Again, they should have some oversight on risk management plan, ensure compliance with GVP principles and guidelines, but also once the agency has required the market authorization holder to conduct post-authorization safety studies or maybe efficacy studies, the QPPV should just make a follow-up to ensure the protocol are submitted, to ensure maybe the study are conducted and reports are submitted after completing those studies. So those were just a summary on the roles and responsibilities of the QPPV as per Rwanda FDA Safety and Vigilance Guidelines. Now, this brings us just to the reminder that Rwanda FDA has made in June, requesting all marketing authorization holders to nominate qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance. I say that it was a reminder because there are different market authorization holders who have nominated, but others not. Then we judged good to make a kind of reminder before maybe actions. And this notice includes the key message is the nomination of the QPPV, and this one should be done through sending, of course, a letter of nomination to Rwanda FDA, together with the CV of nominated QPPV, degree, and also maybe trainings, proof of trainings for that nominated qualified personnel in pharmacovigilance. This was the message in this letter. And here, if we have maybe some people from market authorization holders having the products marketed on the Rwandan market, make sure you have just responded. And if you have not yet, it's time just to do that. Thank you. Next. Now, as just complete that session on roles and responsibilities of the MH, QPPV, qualification and also requirements, let me just share with you a few on harmonization initiative. First of all, at East African level, we developed, I think, in 2019, the EAC Harmonized Compendium on Safety and Vigilance of Medical Products and Health Technologies. This was just the first step towards harmonization as part of the EAC Medicine Regulatory Harmonization project. And this one, as Rwanda FDA was starting, it was an opportunity for us, and the guideline was just domesticated. And of course, we have made some maybe adjustment, maybe we have aligned it with our local context, but the compendium was domesticated. Again, Rwanda FDA was part of different projects, mainly projects, Proforma project, that was aiming strengthening pharmacovigilance in different East African country. Tanzania was involved, the TMDA, FDA in Ethiopia, PPB in Kenya, and Rwanda FDA was part of that project that was for 5 years in strengthening the capacity, the structures of pharmacovigilance in East Africa. Next. Now, as a part of different initiative at continental level, Rwanda FDA is a part of African Union 3S project, which is Smart Safety Surveillance project that was initiated by AUDA NEPAD. Now at continental level, this project has very big, of course, plan and project and the deliverables. The first one is to establish AfriVigilance. That will be, of course, a continental database, as we have Vigibase, as we have maybe EDRA Vigilance in Europe. The project is aiming to have a continental database for adverse events. The second project, of course, under this 3S project is the AU 3S Joint Signal Management Group. And the third one is establishing the Pharmacovigilance Risk Assessment Committee, which is African Union PLAC, and different capacity building initiatives. Our staff, as a member of this project, participated in different training on maybe GVP inspection, signal management, and so on. And we are very thankful just to African Union for this project, as it is contributing to the strengthening of pharmacovigilance at continental level. So this is a big project at continental level. And of course, as the African Medicine Agency is taking over, it will be having more coordination and more deliverables as we move ahead. Next. So my last presentation, my last slide here is just about partnership. Rwanda FDA have different partnership with different agencies in Africa and overseas. Like we have memorandum of understanding with Ghana FDA, with TMDA, we have SAPRA, South African Health Product Regulatory Authority, with Agence Nationale de Sécurité du Médicament in France, with Egyptian Regulatory Authority, EDA, and of other agencies like Paul Henry Institute. And of course, we are a member of WHO International Drug Monitoring. And what I have not mentioned is that we have even a reliance mechanism between all NRA at maturity level 3 in Africa. And that one is a very nice one for approval and authorization of medical products. That I have not added on this presentation or this slide, but it's again another forum and another partnership which is really crucial for availing products of good safety and efficacy and of good quality at continental level. So let me just close my presentation, thanking everyone for your attention. And I think we'll have just session for question and answer. Thank you very much for your attention. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Laza, from that presentation. Very informative and very insightful. And I'm tempted to ask the first question before I even move forward, especially with regards to the partnership that you have with the ML3 countries in the continent. Is there any reliance mechanisms around pharmacovigilance? And if so, how does that work? Could be keen just to understand how that's working for you.
It's a very nice question, David. Of course, the memorandum of understanding that we signed with different agencies include also pharmacovigilance. And among the exchanges and among also partnership that can be around pharmacovigilance, there is also reliance mechanism, recognition. If, for example, a product is withdrawn due to safety reason by one NRA, having a memorandum of understanding with Rwanda FDA, we can approach them just requesting, of course, reports on those one, and we can, based on those one, and take regulatory decision. And second, we use, of course, to share with colleagues what they are doing. And also, we are just planning to see how we can make some joint activities under those memorandum of understanding, like joint review of periodic safety update reports, like joint GVP inspection when necessary or where possible. There are different provisions and different activities that can be done under that memorandum of understanding with different NRA. I think it's clear, Jess.
Yeah, that's very clear. Thank you so much. So it's more collaborative work and also then using information that they're gathering on their end and using it to make your decisions wherever you are.
Yes.
Great. So with that, thank you so much. I'm waiting to see if there's any questions. Any question from the participants? The Q&A chat, I'm not seeing any question from you, but I'm also checking on the chat. So anybody with a question, feel free to raise your hand or just post it in the chat. I'm seeing one. The requirements specify that QPPV should be based in the EAC partner state, considering that QPPV is required to ensure continuous 24/7 availability, and that many regulatory authorities require the QPP to reside within the specific country of authorization. What is the regulatory basis for allowing QPPV to be based anywhere within EAC rather than in the specific partner states? I think you responded to that, but I would be okay just letting you give any additional clarification.
Yes, yes, I respond to that when I was presenting, but I can repeat that we started just by being more flexible. But what we recommend and we require is that the QPPV should have, of course, oversight, should have the mechanism in place to ensure if maybe he's based in Nairobi, in Kenya, or maybe in Bujumbura, he should just have different mechanism in collaboration with maybe local technical representative to make sure the surveillance, they are monitoring, but also they are reporting the cases, maybe they are complying with regulation. And I said that this was just due to we were not seeing enough trained people here at maybe country level. But of course, I think maybe in the future will be tightening the requirements, maybe requiring those one based in Rwanda as our territory. But we judged good to start with that flexibility. But what we have to ensure is that the QPPV nominated is carrying out his roles and responsibilities as per the regulation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. The other question, any schedule to conduct good pharmacovigilance GVP inspections to MAHs? Comment on the requirements to do local literature search as it is not clear in the guidelines, especially the frequency. So there's one in terms of schedule for the inspections for GPG, good pharmacovigilance practices to MAHs, and also the requirement to have literature searches.
Yeah, thank you. For the GVP inspection is then, as I said in my presentation, we normally have our annual GVP inspection plan. And that GVP inspection plan is just developed by applying a risk approach. We used to prioritize some maybe MH with products that are being reported with different safety issues, maybe that have new products. But as we are now strengthening our capacity, we plan to have a very good number. Even during this period, we are inspecting 2 Indian companies, and I will not mention their name here, of course, for confidentiality, but we started just conducting the GVP inspection. Now, on the frequency for literature search, I think we have, and those are among the